Shayna, thanks for being on Heart of the City.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to get to know you more today. Shayna is an amazing influencer here in Chattanooga, or at least that's how I would describe you. But if you are asked, how do you describe what you do?
I'm still learning for sure exactly what I'm doing, because right now I feel like I'm doing 4 different things. But I usually say content creator because that encapsulates a lot. And also when people hear influencer, they're like, oh.
Yeah.
And I always say, like, everybody's an influencer. Like, we all have, our influence goes farther than any of us even really realize.
So true.
And so I usually say content creator because that's what it is creating content. But I also coach lacrosse, and then I work weddings, and so do social media management. So I'm definitely in the throes of like doing everything right now, which is super fun.
You wear a lot of hats. That's so fun. That's great. Okay, so you're doing this, like, when you list all those other things you're doing, you're not doing this, like, you're not content creating full time, but like, is that the majority of your time?
Yes, I would definitely say I'm a content creator full time, and then I coach lacrosse on the side. And then I've been working weddings since summer 2023. And so that's always been a side thing because I was working at a nonprofit full time up until October of 2024.
Oh, wow. So
I usually say October 2024 is when I went full time into content creation. And I'm definitely still learning, but definitely full time. It feels like working 24/7. So that's the part I'm really learning about is like work-life boundaries, because now it is so much of my life is in my work. So that's been super fun too, but definitely
take me back to 2024, like when you decided to do this full time. Like how did that come about? What made you take the leap?
Well, honestly, it was such a God thing because I was working. So I graduated college. I went to Lee University and I graduated in May 2022. And I had always wanted to be a TV news reporter. And so I graduated with journalism degree and PR. And I was looking for jobs at the end when I was graduating in May 2022. And I was lucky to have 3 different job offers. So I was trying to decide which one to pursue, and I was very thankful. But I was also getting married that summer, and so I knew I wanted to maybe take my first year of marriage to be on the same schedule as my husband. And he's a loan officer. He does amazing mortgages, but he works pretty 9 to 5. And so I ended up deciding to take a nonprofit job that was 8 to 6, so basically 9 to 5. And I worked there 2.5 years, and it was just such a great experience. I really, really loved it. And so then with Web Chat starting in May 2024, and just trying to figure out what was next, because again, I had this passion for wanting to do journalism in some way. And of course I was able to do press releases and stuff at my nonprofit job, but just trying to figure out, like, I had this itch. And then Web Chats was growing, and I was getting just so many different, like, come do, a video about this place, come do a video about this. And it was getting really busy. But I was so nervous to leave the safety of a 9 to 5 and a full-time job. And so it really, really was a God thing, because I was like, okay, God, give me a really clear sign when it's time for me to leave my job. And it was the next day that I got a super clear sign. I love my boss, and she was very supportive of me. And she was basically like, I think this is what you're supposed to do.
That was the sign? Like, she just came out and said it, or you asked
We
her?
had a meeting in her office about how Web Chats had been growing a lot, and also about how I had been coaching lacrosse. And it was just like, it seemed like it was getting too much to also be working there full time. And then also just with promoting other places in Chattanooga and not having it be a conflict of interest to the contract I had signed at my job. And so, and she was always very supportive.
That's
and
awesome.
So that was the clear sign, and it was very loud and in my face. And so I was like, got it, God. Okay, I'm going to try doing this full time. And I was talking with my husband, Cameron, and we're like, let's just try it. The worst that happens is you go back and get another 9 to 5.
Yeah, totally.
And,
I love that.
So that was really cool. And just trying it, we were like, I'm just going to try it until the end of next lacrosse season, which was May. And
Which would have been this past May, like just a few months ago.
Yeah. Wow. So we did the whole sit down, like, let's reevaluate how this has been going. And it's been going like nonstop. And so still doing it full time, which is awesome. But of course, it's always crazy and like figuring stuff out.
So when you first started posting, like, did you ever think it would lead to this?
I have always had a love for social media and posting a lot. I remember in middle school is when Instagram came out, and I had so many different accounts. I had like a Disney fan page. I had a food fan page. It was
amazing.
Like at food is my boyfriend, like something like that. Like I
so
always
cute.
had all of these multiple accounts. I did like meme accounts. I was always doing Instagram accounts. And so I always say Web Chats is like my 30th Instagram account that I've started. And
are those all still live?
Definitely some of them are. I had a Hunger Games one. Like it was just crazy.
God, that's awesome.
And so I don't even remember the passwords if they are still live, but it was always a love for social media and just running different social media pages growing up. And then when TikTok came out in 2019 is when I got on TikTok. I think it technically came out in 2018, but and I have 4 younger sisters, so they always keep me up to date with things that are happening. And I remember my second sister, so the middle of the 5 girls, she was on TikTok, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get TikTok, even though everyone was saying it's cringe or whatever. And so it was pretty early on in 2019 when I started posting lacrosse TikToks with my old teammate, and we had one just like blow up out of nowhere about our lacrosse bruises, I remember, and I was like, oh my gosh, wow, this is crazy. And we kind of kept posting about lacrosse stuff, but really, when I say I learned social media, honestly, not really from school at all. It was just from doing it and practicing. But in 2022, when I was engaged and getting married, I was posting wedding stuff on TikTok. And within a year of posting like wedding TikToks is what I call them, my account went from 1,000 followers to 130,000 in a year, which was crazy because it was just TikTok was just a different animal back then. But I remember I had one video get 15 million views about my wedding video vision, all of this stuff. So I was like, I was almost really like getting a high from going viral on TikTok. And I was just like, it honestly was so good for me that happened back then before Web Chats, because I learned so much from that experience of, I posted every day on TikTok for a year. So just getting in the habit of posting on TikTok, but also I realized like, it was like, I would go to sleep, wake up, check notifications. And it honestly was not great for your mental health, because then it's like, if your video is bad, you have a bad day, or it's like you're honestly like finding your
value.
Exactly. Your value off of how well your video does. And that was not great. And so then it was just like burnout, like super major burnout from my wedding TikToks. And that was very much my niche, was wedding TikTok, wedding budget hacks, wedding money saving hacks. That was like, wedding TikTok was my thing. I was also still working full time at this point. This is 2022, 2023. And it was really good that it happened then, because I realized like, you can't find your self-worth in this. You can't you can't find your worth in numbers. And so burned out from that for a little bit and just really thought about like, what do I want to do? And I remember talking with my husband how I love Chattanooga and always had ever since seen Chattanooga for the first time. But I wanted to do something with the Chattanooga page and completely switch niches from the wedding TikTok page. And one of my best friends is Hope Mom, and she has a great Chattanooga Instagram account. She talks about, different hikes and different things in nature. And she was one of my biggest supporters. Like, you need to do this, like get on, like do restaurant reviews, do all the things you want to do, like do your passion. And so with Hope's encouragement and Cameron's encouragement, and just like having been wanting to do it for so long, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this in 2024. I'm just going to start posting, because Cameron and I would go on all these date nights and I would vlog them just for memories. And I was like, these are filling up my storage. Let me just make a new Instagram account and start posting. But I also knew from my TikTok experience, like, to grow an account, I wanted to do all the things I did on TikTok wrong. I wanted to do them right on this page. So when I had TikTok, I was never engaging in comments. I was never really focused on community. All I would do is post and create, never engage with the people.
Wow.
And so when I started Web Chats, I wanted it to be very community focused. Like, I wanted to be in the comments, be in the DMs with people, and just really be authentic and just super, just very me. And so I started getting Web Chats content in January because, again, I was coaching lacrosse, working full-time, still doing weddings. So it was very busy, and I knew I wanted to post very consistently. And so I built up about a month's worth of content before I started my account.
That's smart. And
then I posted every single day, once or twice a day for the first 2 months to just kind of grow it a little bit. And that was really, really cool just to see it grow from 0 to 10K by the end of July. I started it in May, which was just so fast. And a lot of people were like, you got so lucky. And I was like, well, I really did have a good bit of like very specific call to actions, Also,
posting 1 to 2 times per day is a lot.
It was a lot. And it's a lot of work. And that's why I tell people, like, don't you can't compare to anybody else because you don't know.
What their strategy is,
And
what
everyone
they're
has
doing.
different
Yeah.
workloads. And
Yeah.
was using content I had filmed a year ago. Like
Which
I
was
had
smart.
it built up a little
Yeah.
bit just because I knew it was a busy time. But I also was very intentional about trying to grow it and doing specific call to action. So it was a fun passion thing, but it also was, I really want to see, like I wanted to do social media. At this point, I was not even thinking web chats could be a full-time thing. I was honestly thinking my next job, I want to be a social media manager. Let me experiment
myself.
on my own account.
Yeah.
And so I can put it toward
It's
a
almost like
brand's
your
account.
portfolio. Yeah.
Right, exactly. It was almost like my resume without it being a resume.
Yeah, that's
and so I
smart.
was very intentional about growing it. So I do say there was definitely strategy behind it, but it was also a passion. I wasn't thinking,
Yeah.
let me try to be a Chattanooga influencer. Let me
Right.
just showcase all of this stuff that I have.
Right.
And so that was super, super cool. And then I remember getting so much confidence when I had hit the 10K point, even though, again, I was never looking into numbers. I remember just being very intentional, like, I'm not going to spiral if my video doesn't do
Yeah.
well, and I'm not going to think I'm all that if my video blows up, because I knew that from my TikTok experience, numbers are not
inconsistent.
your worth.
Yeah.
Right. And so it was really cool. And so then, again, not thinking that this is going to be a full-time thing, I remember, with my whole notice at my nonprofit job, I was like, okay, I want to have a social media management content creation job. And so I remember applying for a few different places as social media manager, like just content creator. And I was putting web chats on my resume and saying, like, I just grew this account from 0 to 10K. Like, I'd love to grow your account. And I remember this one place in Chattanooga, and I had applied for their social media content creator position. And they said that I didn't have enough experience, so I didn't get the job. And then I was like, oh man, like I was a little sad about it because I was just really excited to hopefully get into a social media management position from this. And then they had said no, that I didn't have enough experience, which was fine. They were just looking for someone with 10 years experience. And so I was like, okay, well, 10 years ago I was
in
like
high school.
13. So sorry. And then it was a few months later, after they had hired that position. Again, this girl doesn't know that I had applied for a job. She reaches out to web chats and she's like, could you come make a video of our place? Like, we love your content.
Oh, how
and I remember
redeeming.
going, because of course I still,
Yeah.
I mean, this is now in like November, December. And I was like, of course, like, because I love the business. And so I went and I remember her just saying, like, what you do is like my dream job. And it was just so crazy because I had wanted that job. And
The
then
door
she's
closed for a
saying,
reason.
exactly. And so it's just so cool because, again, you never know, like, where people are at in their life, but it's just so cool to see how I felt like God was closing all of these doors to open new doors. And I still don't know where all the doors are going to go, but it's definitely been a crazy last year, honestly.
That's insane.
So that's a lot
so
of lore
cool.
in like 10 seconds.
I love it.
Combined, but
Yeah,
we can
no, that's so
obviously-
good. Okay, so what's something you love about Chattanooga that people might not expect?
So many. So I feel like I didn't grow up here. I grew up in Memphis, so the other side of Tennessee. And I remember coming to Chattanooga frequently for lacrosse tournaments, the Chattanooga Challenge, which actually was just finished yesterday, and I was coaching it this time, so that's cool. But I would come over here and just always love the mountains because Memphis is so flat, and I do love Memphis, but it's so much more nature over here. I
Yeah.
remember thinking it was so cool that it was just like an hour and a half from Atlanta or Nashville or Knoxville. Like, you could get to these bigger cities quickly. Whereas like in Memphis, I mean, Nashville's not that far, but like St. Louis was maybe
Yeah.
And so I remember thinking it was so cool, Chattanooga. And then making my college decision, I had been recruited by Lee to play lacrosse. And so I remember going over to visit Lee, and I remember sleeping, and my mom woke me up whenever we were driving through Chattanooga, and she's like, here's Chattanooga, this is how close it is to Lee. And I was just like, this is so awesome. This city is so cool. This is, again, when I'm like 17. And I really fell in love with it there. I felt like God was calling me to go to Lee, and it was just a great fit playing lacrosse. And then meeting Cameron at summer camp while I was a sophomore in college. And he grew up here. He was born and raised in Chattanooga. And so we would do a ton of date nights. Like while I was up in Cleveland and he was in Chattanooga, we'd do a bunch of different
You
date
guys were
nights in
working at a
Chattanooga.
summer camp?
Yeah, we
Cute,
both were
okay.
working at a summer
That's
camp,
awesome.
Camp Ozark, when we met. And so it was very I always say, okay, I'm getting on so many tangents, but I always say we met the old school way because we couldn't have our phones at this camp.
That's awesome.
And so we literally had to be like, meet at this tree at 8 p.m. or whatever, because we couldn't text. And normally how people meet each other now, it's like you stalk them on Instagram right away and all of this stuff. And we couldn't do that. We had to meet and like actually talk in person and like figure out for ourselves if we liked each other rather than doing the whole like sending to the group chat thing. So anyway, we met there and it was awesome. And there's so much more lore I could talk about with finding your person. But anyway,
but it's like sounds like Chattanooga has such a special place in your love story,
right?
Which is really
and so
cute.
Then just always doing date nights down here,
yeah.
And he would show me all of these different places because he of course grew up here, and then just wanting to go out and explore. So then when I was graduating from Lee, I immediately moved to Chattanooga because I had the nonprofit job here and have lived here ever since. So it's just been so fun to keep going out and learning about the history of this city and it being so rooted in community and entrepreneurs, and the love for small businesses here, I think, is greater than anywhere else. Like everyone loves supporting local, which is so cool.
Special place. Yeah.
Yes.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Okay. So was the 10K mark, like, was that kind of when you were like, when you hit 10,000 followers, was that like okay, this really could actually happen moment? Or were you still, even at 10K, did you say you were thinking like, oh no, I'm still just doing this to be a social media manager somewhere full time?
Right. It was after I hit 10K, I was still applying to jobs. I did not
So what was the milestone where you were like, oh, like this is now my full-time job, like I'm here?
It really was when I started getting a lot of inquiries. It was like so many restaurants being like, hey, come do a review here, come do a review here.
And
just
is this paid work?
Having to figure out, hey, I'm not trying to be rude. Like that's just always been a big battle of like, because I think paying people to do an iPhone review is not necessarily an advertising form that people know about, at least in Chattanooga. If you went to LA or even Nashville, it's like they're everywhere. Like that is like there are tons of content creators doing that kind of thing. And then here where that's not necessarily been done a lot yet. And so when I'm asking for payment, a lot of times people are like, oh no, we were just going to give you half off an appetizer for your video. Things like that. And then I'm just like, okay. And also I will say, like, a lot of times I would just go places as a regular customer and just do it. I wouldn't even tell, like I was just doing it authentically. Like,
so some people got lucky, like before you were really,
and so then it's like a lot of people are reaching out. So I had experience with paid brand deals from TikTok with wedding brands, but that was always like, it was big brands like Azazi or ring companies or, it was bigger wedding companies. And now with web chats, it's working with small mom and pops and local businesses. And so oftentimes there's no like set rule I have where it's like one video is $300 or anything. It's always been a balance of, okay, how much do I have on my plate right now? Because in the beginning, when it was just such a rush, it was just like, well,
take everything. Yeah.
And just trying to figure it out. And so I remember I started charging on the lower side and then building it up. And then I was also, sometimes I would just have to be, I'm so sorry, I don't have any time. Or I had a running list of places that were like, we can't pay you, but could you just come out sometime? And I would just start putting them on a list if I ever had like a date night or something and I wanted to try it. But also it was like, if I'm going out on a date night, I don't necessarily want to feel like I have to be working it. And so then there's the battle of like, can I just go out and enjoy the food or do I have to come make a video? And so it's been still learning that road. But I remember the first time I did a paid video for web chats was around the time I hit 10K.
Okay.
But I will also say, I think you can charge for this kind of work no matter how many followers you have. I'm not saying that 10K is the mark. I think you could have 1,000, you could have less than 1,000 followers. Exactly. And also, even if you have no followers and you're doing it as UGC content or content for the business's page, like you're making a commercial for them, you should be paid for your work. And so it's still a battle of like having people learn that. But I think even in the past couple years or even months, like more and more people are realizing, oh, this is a form of advertising. And so while some places are still not ready to pay for that, I think it's helped as more and more people are starting to do it.
Yeah.
That's like, okay, like we all can charge for our work.
Yes.
Because it is a lot of time, as anyone who has ever made an Instagram reel knows, it takes a lot of time to edit,
1000%.
put on the text and do the voiceover. And
Oh,
it is
yeah.
really, really cool, but definitely it's still a commercial.
Yeah.
And as I started charging, I remember one time another person, like most places are used to, billboards or newspaper ads, TV commercials, magazine ads. There's so many different ways to advertise your business. And so having an iPhone Instagram reel was not really on a lot of people's radars, I
Yeah.
guess, unless maybe they have a teenager or something. And so it's also when people reach out, I try to educate, and I always have like couple paragraphs, or I'll link an article about showing how this can help your business and this
Yeah.
is why you should pay
Manage
content creators.
expectations. Yeah.
But then it's also like, well, I want everything I ever do with web chats to always be authentic. I don't ever want to just go promote a place because they're paying me.
Yeah.
And so that's also been a whole thing where
I
it's
know.
like,
How do you balance that?
so a lot of times it's like trying to figure out, okay, do I love the place? So sometimes I'll be like, I just want to come try you guys first before I agree to anything. Or if they're ready to pay already, I always make a contract that says like, if I am not a fan of the food, there is a way I can pull out. You don't have
Good
to
for
pay me.
you.
I'll just buy my food as a normal person. And so I never ever want to lose that trust with people because
good.
anyone with any kind of influence, as soon as you lose the trust, they're not going to trust your recommendations
No.
anymore. And then it's like, you can't charge for anything because no one's going to trust it anyway. And so that's also a whole piece you have to navigate of like making sure it's a place you authentically love.
Yeah.
And then also if I'm doing a video for a place, like there's been a few instances, like there's certain industries that a lot of times will reach out. Spas, med spas, that kind of place is constantly like, hey, come get a free facial, do a review. And it's like, well, I don't want to be inauthentic, but I mean, I love a spa as much as the next person, but I don't really have a lot of experience with you guys. Like, I just don't want to make a video promoting something I don't really know. And so getting to know business owners has also been a cool thing. I got to meet Stacey Pollum. She's an esthetician. She does Botox, but I have never had that from her. But just meeting her and getting to know her was really cool. And so that's when I tried to do a different style video, which was kind of like just sharing her story rather than saying,
Sweet.
I got this treatment from her and here's
Yeah.
why you should too. It's just like, okay, I'm going to share her story a little bit. So
smart.
there's different ways you can still work with people, even if you haven't
Yeah,
experienced
you're
their
not necessarily
service.
vetting their service. You're
Right.
more just promoting her story
Showcasing.
and like
Right.
sharing what she does. Yeah,
Right.
that's really cool.
Yeah,
I
same
love
thing.
that.
I've worked with like engagement ring companies. Like I was engaged way before web chat, so it's not like I can be like, here's where I got my engagement ring.
Yeah.
Like, so just trying to figure out different
Right.
ways I can still work with
Storytelling
people
without it being firsthand.
But
Yeah.
always making sure it's authentic and not something that's like, I'm just doing this for the money.
Yeah.
But I will say the big name companies, like national brands,
Yeah.
are going to be the people who can pay the most.
Yeah.
And so it's also navigating for me where it's like, okay, well, now that I'm trying to make a living off of this,
Right.
it's like, well, I do want to get paid in some ways. And so, for example, like I still want to work with places that can pay me as a content creator
Right.
who's still figuring it out, because it's definitely not a high paying industry yet, for sure. Which is why I still work weddings. But it's still working with places, but putting a local twist on it. So for example, like I grew up going to Crystal fast food, and Crystal started in Chattanooga. And so they're reaching out and I'm like, okay, well, here's where I'm going to be doubling my rates because you're not a local business.
Truly.
And here's maybe where I can pay for, some of my bills and then be able to work with some local places
awesome.
that don't have a budget.
Yeah.
And so it's like using different places to be
Leverage.
able to, right. So it's like, if you're a big local or a big national brand that's reaching out, and I can get more money from you,
Yeah.
then maybe I can lower the price for some other
That's
places.
sweet. That's awesome.
Because I always tell people, like, a reason I charge is because I still want to have the attention and focus to be able to make a high quality video about your
Totally.
business. And so if you can't pay, then I'm going to put you on a list, and if I have a slower workload month or something,
Yeah.
then we can reconnect, which I constantly say to people, and then I still have yet to have a slower workload month to end up reaching back out to those people. But it's like places like,
Totally.
yeah, so
it's
it's
like you want to be able to serve everyone. You just
Right.
can't. And that's part of what
Exactly.
growing your business is. Yeah.
Right. And so shout
I
out
love
to
that.
all the people when I'm like very clearly like, this Crystal started in Chattanooga, here's a video about them, #ad. It's like,
Yeah.
people still know like, okay, she's still got to make some money somehow.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's an
Yeah.
ad for a huge national brand type thing. Or like, I just got to work with Logan's, which was really cool. Again, a
Fun,
national
yeah.
place, but I ended up making UGC content for them. So I'm not sharing it on web chats.
UGC, like for them.
Yes, so
For
it'll
the
be
company.
shared on their
Yeah.
company's page, and I'm not sharing it on web
Nice,
chats.
yeah.
So it's like doing content creation for places, and it's not always shared on web chats,
Yeah.
but it's a way I can make money by doing what I love and what I feel like I'm good at. And so it's like, I will say, like, I love working with local places, and then I still need to work with the national places too, because that's who can pay
1000%.
more.
Yeah, totally.
And so that's been fun.
So, like, what are the 2 to 3 things you can remember doing last year when you started web chats that you feel like helped move the needle? Like 2
Yeah.
to 3 little like tactics. I mean, I know you mentioned like you posted every day,
Yeah.
at least once a day for what, 2 months?
Yeah, so it was definitely having content ready to go.
Yeah.
Because it was such a busy last summer. And then engaging with the people in the comments and meeting the people in the community who are in this social media space already, and constantly being in the DMs and the comments.
Yeah.
And I will say that was a lot easier to manage last year before web chats, because the first month it was zero. So I started it with 0. 1 month into it, I was around 800, 900 followers. And so it was not even blown up
So
yet.
it exploded in that second
It
month.
exploded in July. So a year
Wow.
ago is when it went from 1,000 to 10,000 in 1 month, which was, I will say, from my experience of growing on TikTok, it was like I went from 1,000 to 100,000 mainly based off of 2 really viral videos. For Instagram with web chats, I never had one video just pop off.
Interesting.
It was a collection of a bunch of different videos just starting to hit
Yeah.
feeds. There was never one video that just really outdid any of the other ones. They were all around the same amount of views. It was just the constant like, and you want more Chattanooga authentic reviews, like follow for more, that kind of thing that really helped it.
Yeah.
And so I will say the 2 biggest things were just consistency, and then really focusing on community rather than focusing on numbers, because
Yeah.
comparison kills you as a content creator. And I'm so thankful that I went through the
Yes.
comparison stage on my wedding TikTok,
Yes.
which ended up suffering. Like now if I post on, it's dead. Like follower count does not matter. I have
Yes.
130,000 followers on there, but I post a video, it gets less than 1,000 views. It's just like, it doesn't matter how much follower count you have, your content still has to be good
Totally.
constantly. And so I know that like follower count really doesn't matter. It's just your, consistency or engagement
Yeah.
with people on your page, and just continuing to put out high quality content where people can feel you through the screen.
Yeah.
So if I'm talking about something I'm not that interested in, you can
Yes,
tell through the
totally.
screen.
And you're so authentic. Like that's one thing that really drew me to you is it's just like you show up as yourself. Like people can tell that and feel that. So I feel like you're nailing that part. And it seems like that came pretty naturally for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I again feel like I learned so much from the TikTok experience of me not always being myself. I mean, how long can you talk about your wedding? For me, it was like I was constantly talking about my wedding for 2 years. And so toward the end, it was like
It was
not
just-
really authentic. Like I'd been
yeah.
married for a while, and I'm still talking about ways to save money on your wedding when I'm not in that stage of life
Yeah.
anymore. And so it was like I
The
learned
rat
so
race.
much by having no community over there and just posting to post.
Right.
And then bringing it over here to like my main focus is the community. I don't want to look at the numbers. I don't want to get in my head and compare myself to other people.
Yeah.
Because another huge thing that I love telling people is like the Chattanooga, or not even Chattanooga, just content creation in general and influencer type posts, like there's so much room for everyone to be in this space because everyone's a different person. And so there's not like, you're not going to compete against another influencer because they're doing what you're trying to do. It's like we all are our own person.
Totally.
And so anyone can be in this space. And that's one reason like I'm so thankful for Hope, and Hope shared that with me of like always encouraging me,
That's
even
so
though she's
sweet.
already in the Chattanooga content creation space. Like she was a huge encourager for me. And so that's super awesome. And then I try to do that. Tim Moore is another amazing content creator. He does different Chattanooga restaurants. He was my old boss. And
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
I
I'll make
remember
sure I'm following
before
him.
his username is Tim Eats, but
Oh, yeah, I think I do. Yeah.
before he started that, like I remember meeting with him and just being like, yes, like do this. And he has his own twist on things, and then having more and more girls who will just reach out and be like, I want to do what you're doing. Like, how do you
That's
do that?
sweet.
And just always being encouraging, because there's room for everyone. And the more people
Totally.
that get in this space,
Totally.
the more like maybe we can all charge and we can
Yeah.
all, make this be a source of income.
Yeah, and legitimize it as an industry for
Right.
people to actually grow their businesses.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But definitely Chattanooga still, as a whole, like there are, again, places that understand the value of it.
Yeah.
But I would say the majority of places don't realize the value that comes with these
We're catching up in
little
that area. Yeah.
like influencer type marketing. And so people are not necessarily ready to pay. And that's why they're still offering half off an appetizer in exchange for a video. And it's just like,
You're like, no.
sorry. And I have a distinct memory that really like kind of shaped into, okay, I need to be charging and standing up for myself, was when I was having a conversation with another person who does marketing in Chattanooga, not on social media, but just like in the advertising world in Chattanooga. And he was asking me, how much do you charge a business for, a paid partnership? And at the time it was around $300 is what I was trying to ask for, often not even getting that. And I remember saying that to him, and he was like, you're going to put all the other advertising places out of business because you're charging so low. And that like, he didn't mean it in a mean
Interesting.
way, but he was like, we are charging a lot more than that to advertise
Yeah.
places on billboards or whatever
Right.
it is.
You need to
And
up
so you need to up your prices. And so then I was really trying to up my prices, and nobody's even seen the value in it. So it's definitely still a space that's growing.
You're a trailblazer. Like you're definitely paving the way for, this whole new sector of advertising, which is crazy.
Yeah, and definitely still figuring out
Yeah.
how it all can work, and
I'm sure.
wanting to promote authentically. So
Yeah.
it's a space that's growing, and
That's
definitely
awesome.
figuring stuff out still. But
So do you feel pressure like to stay in the algorithm and post all the time? Like how does that, I mean, I know you said you are so thankful for your TikTok experience. It sounds like it's helped you not pay attention to the data, but this is a business for you. So you have to be
Right.
looking into the data,
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you manage that pressure? Or like even at home, how does that infiltrate? Does your
Right.
husband get annoyed? Like how do you guys deal with that?
I will say, having grown up as a girl who often found her identity in what others were thinking, being an Enneagram 3, a people pleaser, I grew up always finding my identity in what others were thinking. And so going to Lee really, really helped me. And there was a specific, I remember, convocation service where I really realized I am finding my identity in what other people are thinking, and I don't even know what I want or who I am. And so Lee was just such a good experience for me, because I figured out who I was and finding my worth not in what others are thinking, but what God says about me and how I want to live. And so I'm so thankful for that experience. And then meeting Cameron a year and a half after I went through that, figuring out who I was, and Cameron just always being supportive of me and us being in the same stage of life has been great, because I was able to really focus on, what I wanted and not worry as much what other people think.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, worrying what other people think is a huge thing that stops people from going on social media. And I have been there before, but anytime anything blows up on social media, you are going to get hate comments. And so it's
Yeah.
like, you have to know you can't find your worth in what other people think. So having the mindset of, you can't worry about what other people think, because it doesn't matter. In reality, in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter. It only matters what God thinks of you. But like, I remember getting, with web chat starting, my favorite hate comments were, one time this girl was trying to send my video to her friend, and she said, "This is so cringe. I can't believe she's acting like this." And she accidentally sent it to me. So that was really fun. And I was like, and then she said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I obviously didn't mean to send that to you." And I was like, "Girl, it's totally fine." And then,
You're so nice. And this was just a random follower? Or
like,
someone
I did
you
not
knew?
know her. No, it was random. And then other people just like saying, just crazy stuff that's like,
Yeah.
that's so cringe, whatever. You have to be cringe to even Like there's cringe mountain. Anyone who's on the other side knows the experience. But
Interesting.
having the mindset of like not worrying what others think is a huge one. But then you were asking about like, how do I manage it all? How do I do any kind of work-life balance? Definitely still figuring out the work-life balance thing. But I never check my phone first thing in the morning, because if you start your day off with the high from notifications, then it sets the tone for the rest of your day.
Totally.
So I always try to start it either with workout or, time like my devotional time, things like that, and then get into it. And so that was a huge shift from TikTok when I was checking it first thing in the morning to now with web chats not checking it first thing in the morning, and not like if the video doesn't do well, you still have to know this was still a great video that the business can use.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that it wasn't shared as much as my other videos. Like it's still a great asset for places. And so just being secure in that, you know what you're doing. And so I will say, what I was trying to say with the whole Cameron thing is being married and not spending so much time like, oh, what do people think about me? Because I know Cameron loves me. And so it's like, I don't worry as much what other people think. He's been so supportive, and so that's great. But sometimes it's like we need to have a date night and we're not even bringing our phones. Like, don't even be tempted to make a review about this food. Like, let's just connect with each other. And honestly, we're talking about it. It's like with the growth of web chats and now like people recognizing you or places, it's like if we're gonna like really unplug, we're going to a different city, because it's like Chattanooga is so like web chats and thinking about that, and so it'll be really
fun. Vacation and get out a little bit to like escape. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you're like a celebrity now,
which is
a
so
mini Chattanooga
crazy.
celebrity. It's awesome.
It's so crazy to even, again, it's like you don't realize how many people it is. Like you see a number on your screen, and even when people are like, oh, this only got 800 views or something, like that's 800 people. Like think about 800 people in a room.
Totally.
Or even 200 views. It's like think about 200 people in a room. You're speaking to 200 people.
That's a lot.
When you realize like, oh, this video got 10,000 views, it's like that's 10,000. I mean, and then sometimes people watch it twice or whatever, but it's still like, that's like 8,000 people or whatever. So it's crazy.
It is crazy. It's wild. What do you find like the most annoying about social media? Like what frustrates you the most?
The comparison thing. Okay. I just see it, especially as a girl and then having 4 younger sisters, and then I coach high schoolers on lacrosse. It's like seeing how much we compare to other people.
Is sad.
And so then also knowing that and being aware that people will compare themselves to me and having to be like,
no, you're your own person.
Right, exactly. And I know that like if you're just constantly looking to like, well, how did she grow to 10,000 in 2 months? I didn't grow, like it's not fair or whatever. And it's like you can't compare your journey to someone else's, or it's going to kill the drive on your journey. Like you keep trying and you keep putting your passion forward. As long as you don't change who you are, that's going to be your best like strategy, because that's how you'll be able to show up the most authentically. Again, like if you just think, well, I need to do it exactly like this because that's what worked for this person, then it's not going to work for you, because people can tell that's not what you're most passionate about.
Yeah.
So that's a huge one that I try to tell people, and just like, don't compare yourselves. But social media makes that so hard. So that's definitely the most annoying thing, is like, it's really, really hard not to compare yourself to people on social media.
I've noticed even in this interview, and I noticed when I, follow your stuff and see your posts, like you are very authentic too about threading your faith into your content, which is awesome. And that's kind of unique. Is that at all like something that you made a decision about early on, or is it just like totally like how does faith infiltrate your work in this?
Well, definitely knowing that a lot of times people will think like the only way you can show your faith is if you're like, hey, can I talk to you about Jesus? Like, and that often is not the best reciprocated way. And obviously that still works for some ways, but just being able to live out loud the way that you are, I think is what people can most relate to. And so never trying to like, be like, let's talk about Jesus now. Like I don't ever want it to be scary to people, but it's been really cool to see how God can use your gifts to help others in different ways. So it's been cool. Like I've been doing the New Friend Friday series since the beginning of January, and then just having one-on-one time with people and getting to pray with people in a way where I'm not trying to do that like broadcast that on social media where people feel like it's being pushed on them, but just doing it in a way that feels natural and not like, I'm going to push you to believe this or whatever. Because
Yeah.
a huge thing I also think is like a lot of times people feel pressured or pushed into the church or something. And it's like, you need, just like I try to be authentic on social media, it's like your relationship with God should be authentic and it should become on your own, terms and with your own deciding. So it can be your relationship with
Yeah.
him. Everyone's relationship with God is different and complicated in different ways. So it's like, just live how you can authentically live with people. And then also, as far as like making a decision, if I was going to start that way, from the beginning of Web Chats, I was trying to, share just Bible verses on my story or whatever it was. And I remember people early on, like, upswiping my stories with the Bible verses saying, like, I really needed to hear this today, which was super encouraging.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, you get the other side of that, too. I remember the first time I actually had included Jesus in an actual reel rather than just my stories, I remember getting some messages that were like, get ready to lose followers now that you're posting about Jesus. Or, like, it's always
It's always
that could be
something.
anything. Like,
Yeah.
whether you're posting about
Politics
anything.
or whatever
Exactly.
it is. Yeah.
And so it's like, again, you can ignore the haters and just keep doing you.
You were solid in what you wanted to do, and you wanted it to be authentic to you, which faith is a big part of your life. So that's awesome.
Yes, I'm very thankful. And just seeing how God has had his hand in my own journey specifically, it's like, well, I know I didn't do this on my own, so
Yeah.
how could I take any credit for all of this? So
That's awesome. Okay, little lightning round of questions here. Hidden gem in Chattanooga.
Well, there are so many. And something that's funny is Chattanooga is so awesome and we love sharing different things. Oh, I'm not doing very well at lightning round since I'm giving a whole foreshadow or whatever. But a lot of times people like things to stay hidden. And I know that with like, smaller hikes or whatever, you don't want to overload it or whatever. I remember posting about what I think is a great hidden gem is Lo Mein, has great smash burgers. I remember posting about them, and that was the first time I was getting people saying, like, stop sharing these hidden gems, like, keep these businesses small or whatever. And so I will say, when it comes to hidden gem type places, a lot of times it is, unless a business owner asks me to share something, then I will. So, for example, Wardlaw's barbecue recently, they asked me to come out and do a video for that place. And so I come out, do the video. It was a paid partnership, do the video. So it's like they are paying to get their business name out there. And then it's like you post the place and then all these people, stop telling everyone about this or whatever.
You're
and
like,
it's
God forbid the business owner want to grow the business.
Yeah. Sorry, they reached out and asked to help get more
That's
business.
funny.
Or like same with Nacho Libre, that one just blew up too. And so it's like people are like, stop telling everyone. It's like they literally asked me to come share that place. But I will say, I think Lo Mein has amazing smash burgers.
Nice.
Now, will I necessarily share that again in a huge reel? Maybe not, because the response was like, keep them hidden or whatever.
Yeah.
But I do think that they have great smash. I will also say Scoop Around Ice Cream Bar is amazing with ice cream.
okay.
That's a lesser known one because they're newer
Main
business.
Street, right? Like deeper down Main.
Like
yeah.
right by Shady's. And so that's really, really cool. I think that's like a hidden gem.
Nice.
Sorry, we can keep going on
those are good.
lightning
Okay.
rounds, but
What's your most used app on your phone other than Instagram?
maybe TikTok or Gmail.
Okay. those are-
Messages.
fair.
Yeah.
Is there a content creator you're loving right now?
Oh, so many. I obviously love Hope. She is one of my best friends, and I think she does an amazing job with her videos. I obviously love Tim Eats. I learned so much about the business owners through his videos. They're really good. Those are both Chattanooga ones. And then, of course, there's, bigger influencers in the world and everything, too, that I really like. But,
Yeah, those are good. One misconception about content creators.
That the work is easy. It feels easy. It's like, again, specifically just because people are like, why would I pay you to come make an iPhone video? It's like,
You're like, you don't even know.
go ahead and try. You can make your own videos.
It's so true. Go ahead and try. Okay. Lastly, Shayna, I want you to fill in the blank. The heart of Web Chats is.
Community, for sure. I will say, like, a lot of times people are like, where do you want to go? Like, what are you most passionate about? And I will say, I feel the biggest passion, of course I love Chattanooga, but my big passion is for Gen Z girls. Me being the oldest of Gen Z, with being born in 99, which is sometimes considered like the oldest age. My youngest sister, so there's 5 of us, my youngest sister was born in 2000. 11. And so she's the very
Wow.
end of Gen Z. So there's all 5 of us
How
that span across Gen
sweet.
Z. And then like being able to be involved with Gen Z girls every day with coaching. It's like I really am passionate about helping Gen Z because I was the oldest sister. I never had a big sister to like help me through different things. Of course, I love my mom and she's amazing too. But I want to be there for other girls who are navigating social media and growing up in this crazy world. So I don't know what it will look like one day, but I'm definitely passionate about our generation, specifically of girls, because I grew up with 4 younger sisters. So
That's
that's a big part.
awesome.
But
I love it.
that's not really one word, but I'm
No,
passionate about community. So
Yeah, you did it. You're awesome.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much for being on Heart of the City, and thanks for all you do to support.
Wow, are we done already? That
Local
was
in
so
Chattanooga.
fast.
Yes, you rocked it out.
Thanks. Well,
so
that's
much.
awesome. Thank you, Amy.